Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here today. We're going to get started in just a minute. I know everyone is very busy right now. You probably either just waking up or maybe you took your dog for a walk or something. Yeah, so we'll give you guys just one more minute to get settled. And while you're getting ready for this webinar/panel, please make sure you go to the description in the video link. So I believe it's right down here. Here's our video. Here's the description. If you click on this link, it's a Jamboard, and you can anonymously throw a skill or a tool or a topic you really want us to cover up onto this Jamboard. I know all four of us will be, okay, we have one suggestion so far. If you wanted to add something, this is Google Jamboard. You could just click one of these little Post-it notes here and type something. Tell me how to make a sandwich. Please don't share that. That would be not great. So here's that. So that means this person wants to know how to make a sandwich. I'm going to delete that. Obviously, it's not real. So if you, throughout this time, want to do something anonymously, you can throw it there because nothing's there right now. Or you can, of course, use the chat section on the side of the screen. Hi to all of these people that are in here right now and anybody else who's going to join us later. Yeah, let's just dive in. Is everybody good on sound? We're feeling good. So I have Meg, I have Ashley. If you're not familiar with these fabulous people, well, first, let me start with the person who's just here moderating. I'm Alicia DeSeppola, the district's digital literacy and learning specialist, and I am going, I'm laughing because I see Betty Lou in the chat said, how can we mute the kid? Is it, I was gonna say, can you hear my kids? But you're probably talking about your own because mine are in a closet. No, I'm kidding, they're not. I try only to do that on the weekends. So I'm Alicia, this is Meg. She is the librarian, media specialist, and digital learning ambassador for the high school. You've been seeing a ton of stuff from her. And then you also have Ashley Bartholomew. She's a third grade teacher at Rick Avenue Elementary School. And again, digital learning ambassador, and you're seeing a ton from her too. And then shortly we'll be joined by a few more people. I think Christina Messina is coming, who's fifth grade teacher from Mount Pleasant. And then at some point, Nina Crane, who's a first grade teacher from Silver Run, she'll also be making a cameo as well. So I'm just going to get started with the very basics. I'll be showing you how to start a meet, how to share a meet, a couple quick little basic management things, and then I'm going to pass the baton and we're going to go through a ton of stuff like upcoming updates. Some of you might be noticing some of these changes already because Google's always rolling things out. Meg is going to show you some workarounds. Ash is going to show you some tips for efficiency. And then please continue to ask questions on the side and chat, and we'll be scanning that as well. Okay. Oh, we have someone from Chicago. Hey, Judy, when this is over, come visit New Jersey. Well, maybe you might not want to, actually. We've got great subs. So I'm going to get started. So we are going to dive right in. Now, the way that I typically was starting Google Meet was to come into my calendar. So here's my calendar. And then when I want to schedule a meet, what I would do would be to, like, let's say I want to schedule one for June 3rd. And I could say, we're going to have a digital learning ambassadors meeting. And it's not going to be all day because we don't have all day. So maybe it is 10 to 10:30. And now it makes it so easy for you because right here it says add Google Meet video conferencing. If I click on that and click Google Meet, it's going to automatically generate this link for me. Now, I can either add guests, which is typically what I do when I'm working with people who are actively using Google. But I'll show you what to do if you have somebody who maybe isn't. So I'm going to just save this. I didn't change any other settings. So here's my event. Now this link right here is going to be a link to the Meet. So if I clicked on that, I'd be starting my meet. I don't want to do that right now. What I want to do is copy this information and send it to someone. So I could copy this conference link. I just copied it by clicking those two little rectangles, and I could put it in an email and send it to somebody. That's one way you can schedule things. And I believe, I'm not sure if Meg's going to show it, I'm sure she will, but I know in Google Classroom, one of the things that some people were doing would be posting and scheduling these links to go live at specific times. So I'm going to go ahead and show you one other thing. People keep asking me if they need Meet installed on their computer. You don't. So it's a Google app, so you can get there just by typing in the URL at the top. So I typed meet.google.com, and this is what Google looks like. So I'm going to click this little plus sign right here, join or start a meeting. If I click the plus sign, I can either create my own meeting or I can join an existing one. So let's say that I already created a meeting and I nicknamed it, I don't know, EdTech MPS 2000. I'm going to click continue. So now I have this open. I'm going to join and I'm in this meet. Sorry, let me get out of my email. I apologize. So I have this meet open right now. And I'm going to come onto my personal computer that I have sitting right next to me because I was ready for this specific occasion. And I am going to access this. Now you'll notice I did not email a link or anything to anybody. I'm going to access it just by typing in the code. Oh, EdTech MPS 2000. So I just typed in the code. I lied. It's not coming on. Maybe it's a domain issue. Hold on one sec. Okay, there we go. So I just typed in the code. Everybody hold your ears. That was pretty bad. I just muted myself. So now I'm on two separate computers. I did not email myself the information. I just joined using that code, which you can do if it's a live meet. But you can also invite people different ways. So if I click these two little people up here, I can see the people who are currently in my meeting. So I have this good looking person and this person who's probably also very good looking. And I'm going to add someone else. So I'm going to add Nina Crane. Here's Nina. And I'll send her that email. And now she's getting an invitation via email. Maybe she'll pop in, maybe she won't. We'll see. We're really living on the edge. Also, while I'm waiting for Nina to join me, I'm going to show you some quick little management things. So Meg's going to talk about some updates coming to Google very soon. But until those updates come to all of us, some things that I've been using regularly are this Google Grid view. And I've included myself in the grid just for this sake to show you two different squares. But I'm one of those people who typically cannot show myself on the grid because of the fact and I'm not a narcissist, but you know how I constantly am looking at myself like, oh, I didn't know I looked like that. Also, I talk with my hands and it's bad. I didn't realize how bad it was until I saw myself in camera. Oh, I'm working on it. So I can choose to include myself in the grid. I can also choose to enable the grid view by default, which is typically what I do. Let me turn it back on. I don't need a side view. And then enable screen capture mode. So this will lock the videos that you're looking at in place, because I'm not sure if you guys used this maybe last week or something, but if you just had grid view on and didn't lock it, whoever was talking, they were jumping around and it was pretty bad. So that's Google Grid View, and you can add it by going to the Chrome Web Store. If you just open, oh, Nina said her email hasn't come yet. Nina, check your Google email. So I'm going to open a new, and if you can't, it's no big deal. Shout out to Nina Crane. She's wonderful. So I'm going to open a new tab, and I can literally just type Chrome Web Store, and it's the first thing that comes up. If I don't know something, I typically Google it. And then I can type in Google Meet Grid View. So here's the one that I have added. So any extension you need, and you're free to do Google searches and find other extensions that work really well with this. Another one that I have working right now is Google Nod. So just like in Zoom, I know we're all upset we can't use Zoom, but got to do what you got to do. Like if somebody has a question to ask, they could raise their hand. So I can see Alicia raised her hand, so I know I can call on her for anything. So yeah, those are some quick little management tips. If you scroll down to the bottom, let me move this out of the way. If you scroll down to the bottom, a few more options. I'm going to click this arrow pointing up, and this is where I can also copy that link. So Nina said she didn't get the invitation, so I can copy it and send it to her via email if I wanted to. It's no big deal, Nina. I know you're there for us. No problem. I can mute myself by clicking on this microphone. I can turn off my camera, which I do most of the time, by clicking the camera, or I can end the call by clicking that little red phone icon. And this is one that I really like. I turn on closed captions. Sometimes this is helpful, even for people like me, because sometimes my kids are very loud in the background and I miss certain things. So if I click closed captions, Google automatically turns on closed captions for this meeting. So you'll see when I'm talking, it's going to appear at the bottom of the page, which is really helpful. And it also shows how many times I say, doesn't say, oh, it skips, thank God, Google's making me look good again. So yeah, and then present now would be if I was sharing my screen. So if I click present now, I'd be able to share my screen. These three little stacked dots right here, this is where we can do even more with our settings. We can record our meeting. This might be really great if you're teaching a live lesson, and of course not everybody can make it. So you can record the meeting and post it in your classroom later, and so much more. So without further ado though, I'm gonna hang up on this call because this is not a good meeting. And I am going to pass the baton to Ashley Bartholomew. I think she's next on our list, and she's going to show us even more.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can use Google Meets through Google Classroom. So let me share my screen. We can see my Google Classroom right now. Yes? No? Okay, let me try again.
Share your screen one more time. I'm going to drag it up. I apologize. It's my fault. Did you share it? Okay. There you go.
But still, yes?
Yep, you're perfect.
Okay, it's hard because I can't see what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so within Google Classroom, you can actually now just have the link displayed on your Google Classroom banner so that when it's time for your meeting, they can just click the link. As you can see, mine is not here right now because some teachers were having trouble with students entering the Meet at all times when they didn't want them in there. So I'm going to show you how you can actually turn it off and only display it when you want them to join. So you're going to go to the settings wheel, and then you're going to scroll down underneath general, and down here, this is your link for your Google Meet that's hooked up to your Google Classroom. So if you wanted to hit this drop down and copy the link and just email it all out to your students, that way you didn't even have to have it displayed on your Google Classroom banner. You could do it that way. But what I do is 5 to 10 minutes before my meeting, I just toggle on this little bar over here to make it visible to students. And then I click save. And then you can see when I go back, my link is right there for the students to join. So normally what I do is as soon as I do that, I quick hurry up and click it so I can be the first one in. Because I found that if you're the first one in, you don't experience problems like not being able to mute the students and not being able to remove students as well. So what I'll do is I'll click that link to join. And then, of course, I join. And it still gives you the code you can share out here. But then what I do is I actually turn off my microphone and turn off my camera. And I present. Hopefully this will work. Well, everything I'm sharing 100 times. And then I'll put up this slide for my kids that basically gives them a rundown of what they're going to be doing during the Google Meet today. And it also has, please mute your microphone when you enter. So I'll just set that up 5 to 10 minutes before my meet is scheduled to begin. And then I'll go about doing whatever I need to do, getting ready for the meet. And then when the time comes that it's time for my meeting, I will stop sharing and I will exit this and I'll go back to showing my face and my voice. And then what I like to do is, since the meeting's done and I don't want any students to come back in again, I'll go back into settings and I'll turn it off so it's not visible to students again. So I click save and they can no longer click in there to join. Now, if you think you have students that are really tech savvy and they save the code and they can still join, what I would do is instead, after you're done, go back down to general, and underneath this little drop down next to your meet link, you can actually hit reset. And then that's a brand new code that the kids have never seen before. So they won't be able to save it. And like I said, I just enable that 5 to 10 minutes before every meeting that I have. Anything else with that? I don't know.
No, that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And again, we're scanning. I know all of us are scanning the chat to the side. So I see Jess is saying they post their schedules and objectives in classroom. It is a great way to continue the routine. When Ashley showed me that, I was like, you've got to do this in our Meet webinar because I thought it was so cool. And of course, I love her, classroom banner and creativity and anything. I love aesthetics. So anything like that, I'm a big fan of too. So now we are going to move on to Millville High School's own Meg Finney. Meg, you can share your screen.
Okay, let me get this bad boy up. Let's see. Oh, it gives me little tips too. I appreciate that. Thank you, StreamYard. Okay. So awesome. Wow, that's not meta at all. Hi, guys. So I'm going to talk, maybe some of the things I'm going to talk about are a little more techie. Alicia already mentioned a really good extension called Grid View. I'm going to show you a few other things you can use and also let you know about stuff that Google has coming out actually starting today. Today and tomorrow is supposed to be the rollout, so hopefully we'll see these features soon. But the thing I wanted to start with was Ashley gave an awesome overview of how it works in Classroom. And I know it's been a lot of changes, and hopefully this will make things easier. But just something to note that I think both Alicia and Ashley brought up is, here's my not at all fake class that I'm in, unlike Ashley's beautiful banner and everything. This is where I test stuff out for people. What I have is I have my Meet link enabled. You can see it here. So as a teacher and as a student, I can see it. One thing I've noticed is that if you are doing a Meet, it all depends on whether or not you'd like to schedule and share your link ahead of time. I know a lot of the high school teachers like to do this. We're so used to scheduling things for the next day, and that is totally okay. But one of the little tiny issues people have run into is that there are actually two different types of links for Meets. And Alicia already mentioned the nickname one. So nicknames are great. They do make it easier. But she did mention, I think, that the nickname link that you create, which would be like this guy right here, it does expire after you've left the room. So if you were to share this with your kids, go into the room the night before, get the little link out of the meeting information, put it into a scheduled announcement, you may find that the next day nobody can get into the room. So I just wanted to warn people about that. So you'll notice that in the nickname one, it's really just meet.google.com. And then we have these nice little arrangement of letters. And we also have the one that Classroom provides, which the big difference here, no, I'm not sorry, is that the link in Classroom has a little thing called lookup, and it has a little bit of a different ending to it. This is one that stays open for your class. So that's the nice thing about it. And what you can do, like Ashley said, is, 5 to 10 minutes beforehand, you just make it visible. You do a little announcement, let them know that it's time to meet, and they can click right on that guy. But just for my people that like to schedule ahead of time, if you want to, make sure that you are using the link in Classroom and not the nickname one, because it could cause a little bit of a disconnect there. And I know it's supposed to make things simple. You know, sometimes in their attempt to make things simple, they make it a little more complicated, but that's how it goes. So that was just my one little note to add to that. The other things I wanted to let you guys know about, and some of you guys already have these extensions, is there's another one called Meet Attendance. You can add this, and it's a way for you to take attendance when you are in your meeting with your kids. So it's an easy way for you to go back and reference, okay, which kids made it to this meeting, which kids didn't. You might already have a way to do this, like in a spreadsheet or something like that, which is totally fine. But this is just a nice little extension you can use if you want to. Another one that Alicia actually had on her screen, and you could see it, was one called Nod. And this one's nice because since Meet is missing some of those bells and whistles that Zoom has, you can create reactions using this extension. So you may have seen this up in the corner of her screen. It allows you to do reactions when kids are maybe presenting, and it allows them, if they install it, to do things like raise their hand and stuff like that so that they're not interrupting you. So that's just another one I thought was really nice. You notice that I have it too. And another little hack that came up, so I'll go into my hack thing right now. And I just want to check, sorry for the weird screen, I just want to check the chat to make sure nobody had any questions. Okay, all right. So another thing you can add, I had a teacher ask me about making text the right way on a screen. So if you're something like a math teacher and you're trying to use your camera to show something on a whiteboard or on a paper, you may notice that it looks backwards to you. The good news is that it still looks the right way to the students on the other end, so you don't need to worry about that. But if this is something that's super distracting and it's hard for you to stay on top and maybe, you know, point to things when it looks backwards to you, there's an extension, and it's just called Video Mirror. It's really simple. If you install this guy, all you need to do is when you're in the Meet and you're using your camera, it makes a little icon up here and just click it. It'll flip your camera view around. So it's not actually changing anything about your camera. It's just changing the way that you view it on your screen. So it's something nice for those people that have to show a lot of that stuff on paper or on whiteboards so that you're not losing your mind and trying to read stuff backwards. So that's another nice little hack thing you can use. And I think that was about it for me. What I wanted to show you guys is this guy right here. So like I said, they have some updates coming. And the good news is I just read this today, and apparently they are coming very soon. Can't believe it's already May. But for things like what we call grid view in our extension and in Zoom, Google is calling it tiled view. That is something that they're launching. So hopefully, I mean, it's great that we have the extension, but hopefully we won't need it soon so that they'll be able to do that for us. Other stuff that they are doing is creating an ability to present a Chrome tab with audio. Because I know one of the annoying things right now is that you can't share your computer audio in Google Meet. I do have a hack that I can share out that you can do. It just requires setting up a really simple thing in your computer audio. But again, the good news is we may not have to do this within the next 2 days. So what they're going to be doing is launching a feature where when you go to present, you'll have an option to present a Chrome tab and you can enable audio. So that way you can go back to sharing those videos and things that you're used to sharing. And what they're also doing is, if you've noticed, sometimes the video can get super choppy in Google Meet, especially when you're presenting. So they're going to make that a little bit more streamlined and work a little bit better for everybody. So those are some things. Be on the lookout in the next few days to see if you see that present tab feature show up for your present screen, because hopefully it'll be here soon, you know, fingers crossed. But I think that's it. I don't know if I had anything else to talk about, so I will go ahead and stop sharing now.
If you do have something else to talk about, just, you know, chime in, or there are questions coming up on the side. And then if you guys want to keep going back and checking our Jamboard too, I've been responding to them as well. Chris, you can of course create a new meeting each Thursday for office hours. It's up to you. I find Ashley's has significantly less steps I was telling Meg, like my initial thing was like, yeah, let's schedule it out. Let's do this. Let's invite people and add them to the calendar. And then Ashley looked at me and was like, can I just enable my link when I need it? I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. Sometimes overcomplicate things.
Yeah, I think you can do it either way. So I think
Yeah.
Ashley's way is much more simple. But if you're really, and I know at the high school, like I said, we're in that schedule mode. So if you really want to schedule ahead of time, just make sure you're using that link in the classroom, like I said, and not the nickname one. You can do it either way. So I say it's up to you how you want to do it.
Calendar, classroom, email, you do you, Chris.
Just get those kids in the meeting.
Yeah, and adults too.
And those people too.
So now I'm going to pass the baton to Christina Messina, who's a 5th grade teacher at Mount Pleasant. Christina, if you want to share your screen, we're ready for you.
All right. So I'm just going to talk a little bit first, and then I'll share a screen because I found a really great resource. I've been following a lot of Instagram posts and things like that for games to play with my kids because I want it to be about that connection, more about the actual lesson and the teaching. So when I highlighted some different areas, I thought maybe I would show you 3 and then direct you to follow these amazing Instagram followers that have some really great stuff and ideas for just making it more fun for your morning meetings. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is super simple. It's rock, paper, scissors, right? So when we get on the screen, and I actually had my kids practice ahead of time how to mute and unmute themselves. I think that's a really important thing to practice with them in general before you start using some of these games. Also, the turning on and off of their video feature. That's super important to practice because you don't think about it, but they may not know how to do it or use the shortcuts. So even for us as adults, it's good to practice that. So the first one, like I said, was rock, paper, scissors. And basically we practice putting our hand in front of the screen and, I just tell them, how to play rock, paper, scissors. And what we do is everybody that wants to play in the screen will have their video turned on. And then we just do rock, paper, scissors. And I say, if you're out, you have to turn your video off. So that way we only see the kids left that are still in. And of course I tell them, like, if I snag you and I tell you your video's out, you got to turn your video off. Like, cause sometimes, they try to cheat or whatever, but that doesn't normally happen as well. But they've had a lot of fun with it. Like, kids were going crazy because we would play a couple rounds of rock, paper, scissors, and it kind of lightened the mood and they would have a lot of fun, but it's something super and easy to play. But I would say the most important thing is just to teach them how to turn on and off their video. That's super important. So that was rock, paper, scissors. The next one that I have is Would You Rather? Super simple. My partner teacher over at Mount Pleasant was playing this with her kids one day, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to start Googling a list. We even did it during our staff meeting, and it was really fun for the adults too. So we just did a basic would you rather. Would you rather eat pizza all day? Put 1 finger up. Or would you rather have ice cream for dinner all day? Put 2 fingers up. And then I would give the kids a chance to explain why they chose what they chose. Anybody want to explain why? And then I would have a kid raise their hand. They would unmute themselves and kind of explain their choice. There's tons of would you rather already pre-made lists out there. You just have to Google it or go on Pinterest. The kids really love that one. I even found some really crazy ones like, would you rather eat worms? Live worms, or would you rather, eat 100 bees? It was something crazy like that. And it was really funny to hear the kids' responses on why they chose what they chose. And it also you get to know them a little bit better. It's super easy to play. And the last one, I haven't tried yet. So I think I'm going to try it this Friday, but it looks super fun. I actually got it from Instagram on Stop, Collaborate, Teach. I kind of follow them, and she has all these links and live explanations of how to do these games. But she does one called At the Queen's Request. I don't know if anybody's heard about this one. I actually brought props for it today. Thanks to my daughter. She put this little care package. I don't know if you could say it for me. But At the Queen's Request, it's basically kind of like a show and tell type deal. So you tell the kids ahead of time that you're going to have them gathering 10 items, and they don't know which 10 items the queen wants. So basically, this particular teacher comes dressed for the occasion. So she wears her queen hat, crown. She wears her, cape. She gets her whole getup on. This is how I roll. So I have my little cape here. And, you know, I have my little puppy because every queen needs her puppy at her side. But basically she uses the whole, like she changes her voice and everything. And she'll tell them, okay, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to gather 10 items. It doesn't matter which 10 items it is from your house. Go grab 10 items. So she gives the kids 3 minutes. And at the end of 3 minutes, the kids have their 10 items of whatever they brought. And then she basically starts her whole list. Like she made a list for herself of what the queen's request is. So she might say, oh, the queen has requested a fruit, you know? And so if they brought a fruit, they would hold their fruit up in the screen and they would get a point. So kids actually earn points for actually having one of the 10 items. And if they don't have it, they wouldn't get a point. But it's kind of interesting to see what they bring to the table and see if it's actually the queen's request of the day. Super fun to play. And then she just has a winner at the end. I don't know what she does with it, but it sounds super fun. I'm going to try it on Friday with my own class and see. I mean, they're 5th graders and I don't care how corny I am. They're just going to have to love me for who I am. So I'll bring my puppy and my crown and my cape. The queen's request, super easy, super fun to play. But it's a little twist on an easier scavenger hunt and giving points. But that connection is what's interesting and what's really good to have. And the last one, there's some other ones that you can play. Kahoot, I'm sure all of you have played before. 2 Truths and a Lie, that's a good one for the older kids. Pictionary, drawing a picture and holding it up and having kids take turns doing Pictionary. What was one of the other ones that I saw that was really neat? Directed drawing. I know that even Juliana's preschool teacher does directed drawings with the kids. So she'll tell them ahead of time, you need a piece of paper and you need these color crayons. And she will actually say, okay, first draw a circle. And the kids will draw a circle. Okay, now draw a stem. They were actually drawing a flower yesterday. And then at the very end, she had them hold up their picture of their directed drawing. And they got to share it with their classmates. And then she had us take a picture of that directed drawing and send it to her. Super simple. That could be used with any age also. I mean, what kid doesn't love to draw? And the directed drawings are an easy, fun way to do that. And make connections with your kids. I mean, because that's really what they want to do when they come and see you. So I have tons of other links, but I encourage you to go to Instagram and follow Stop, Collaborate, Teach. They have tons of other games to play. I haven't even weeded through them myself. I'm just seeing another one now. Meet a family member. I mean, who doesn't want to meet a family member at their house so they can bring the family member to the meeting and introduce them? Tons of different games to play. And I'll share those links with Alicia at another time. So that way you guys could follow those people up. So that's all I have today. The queen's going to take her crown off at the games. And I'm going to put it back over to Alicia.
Thanks, Christina. So Christina said something that I think obviously we're all learning and doing every single day, but she's learning from people on Instagram. I'm learning from those people from Twitter, from you guys in our staff Facebook hub. Like, I think the idea right now is to recognize, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a Google certified trainer, and Ashley saying, oh, why don't you just enable your link when you need it, really made a difference for me. So I think being able to learn from other people is really going to be beneficial. And on top of that, like, I always talk about this, and I'm not sure if I'm saying it well, but I think our goal as educators is to not just teach the content, but also teach the kids how to learn and to want to learn. And I think it's really great when they get to see their teachers and other adults in their life doing the same thing. So I'm going to show you just one more thing, and I'm going to ask my friends on this panel to go through the chat, go through the Jamboard, and make sure we're addressing questions. So let me just show you Jamboard, because it's a whiteboard, it's a collaboration tool. I know I also keep saying this too, sorry to sound like a broken record, but there are a ton of free tools out there right now, and I don't think you should over-tool yourself or your students, because Christina mentioned another good thing that I thought was important to point out, that she has her kids practice the things like muting themselves and that kind of stuff. That's something that I did not do when I started working with adults in this way, just for this process. And And I should have. I just assumed it was something that everyone was going to know, but why would everybody know that? We haven't been talking to each other through screens this whole time. So I think it's really important for us, with both adults and with kids, to recognize that like there's a learning curve. And I don't think we can assume certain things. Like if we haven't been using something all year. So for example, I get a ton of questions about Google Classroom, and the kids are having all these problems and people are saying, oh, Google Classroom. But in reality, if your kids weren't actively using Google Classroom before, why would now be a good time to push everything on top of them? Like we have to give ourselves grace. We have to give them grace, their parents grace, because it's a really difficult time and we're all learning so much, so fast. And I hope that the lessons we're learning, I know from the beginning, we all said this is great ed tech PD, but in reality, we're learning so many more things. For example, that we can personalize learning with technology. So even when we finally get to go back to school, hopefully we can take a lot of these skills with us, not so the kids can sit on screens all day, but so that we can personalize things for them and deliver content in new ways, and really expand the classroom beyond just the typical four walls of the classroom. So I'm going to share my screen one more time, and I'm going to go back to Jamboard. So this is my screen. Here's the Jamboard we are working on. And I know my fellow panelists are going on and answering questions, and they're signing with their initials. You can mute individual students. You can't mute all. I don't know if I've said this, but I'll say it again. Make sure you're reporting if there's an issue or something you have a problem with or want added. You need to submit it to Google. So it's of course, we all want to be frustrated and we all want to talk about it, and that's totally fine. But if we don't submit it to Google, they don't know that it's an issue or it's something that people want. So for example, the reason TileView is coming out is because they had enough people request it. I don't think that they're mind readers. Maybe they are, but that's the thing. We have to consistently be submitting things to Google. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump on Jamboard. Let me make a new one. So when I want to make a new Jamboard, I just go to jamboard.google.com. This is what Jamboard looks like. Obviously, I jam a lot. I'm a big jam fan. When I want to make a new one, in the bottom right-hand corner, I click on this little plus sign. And now it gives me my untitled jam. I can give it a name. I can say, what's the first place you want to go once we're allowed to travel, assuming we have unlimited funds too. Because for some reason my grocery bill has now quadrupled. I'm not really sure why. I think I'm stress eating, like most of us probably are. I'm gonna make a new background. Let's say I can do this cute little grid background. I can do whatever I want. I typically do. Or I can clear it as well. I can also add multiple slides. So for example, maybe I'm in a workshop or I'm working with my class in person and I have a couple quick little do nows. I say slide 1 is going to be this one, slide 2 will be this one, and they can submit however many you have. So when people are ready to work, first of all, you can easily share your screen in a Google Meet and you can use this as a whiteboard. So over on the left, I have my tools. Like here's my little pen. If I click on that little tiny arrow next to the pen, I have some different colors. I have a highlighter, a paintbrush, marker, and a pen. You can use whatever you want, and please feel free to play around with this when we're done. I'm gonna just take a blue marker and I'll just write 1 + 1 equals, this is a tough one, so take your time. But I could share my screen. I could share this with my students and they could post their answers or they could doodle on here too. That's up to them. Let me make a new background. Here's my eraser for my pen. This is my cursor to click and move things around. Right here, these little sticky notes are the ones that you saw when I showed you the other Jamboard we were already working with. So if I click on a sticky note, I have these different colors, or it can not be a color. I'm going to click green and then I just type something. I can say, maybe my do now was, if you could pick, actually I already did a do now. What am I talking about? What's the first place you want to go once we're allowed to travel? I want to go to New York City to see a Broadway show. And I can save it. And now I have this sticky note. I can click. I can make it bigger, smaller. I can organize my sticky notes by clicking and dragging them around. I can also add an image. If I click on this little image icon, it brings up that typical box where we can search for Google Images. I'm going to do Google image search, and I'm going to search for Broadway. And I'll select this one, and now I'm going to paste that image there. So yeah, and here's my laser pointer if I'm presenting and I want to do something like that too. See how I write and it goes away pretty fast? So I'm sharing my screen. I can make this more interactive. And of course, it's fun to look at. But I want to now share this so other people could edit it. So in the upper right-hand corner, I can click on this share box. And then it says private only to me. I'm going to change that and I'll make it public on the web. Or you can make it anyone with a link. It's up to you. And then instead of keeping it as anyone can view, I'm going to make it anyone can edit, and I'll save that. So now I have this URL and I can copy it. And if I'm in a Google Meet, I can go to that chat section on the side and I can paste it in the chat. And now the kids or the adults, whoever I'm working with in the chat, can now access this Jamboard, and we can be doing this collaboratively, just like any other Google app. And the reason I opted to show you this one and not another one is because I talked about like kind of over tooling ourselves and our kids. I think such a great place to start is with your Google apps and your Google tools, and Jamboard is Google. Those Google Jamboards get saved and they can be saved to your drive. Yeah, so now I'm going to give my whole awesome panel a chance to unmute themselves. And if you guys would like to address any of the questions that you've seen or have any last minute additions, please shout them out. Also, one more thing before I turn it over, when you're in a Google Meet, there's still no way to force the kids out. Please make sure that you're the last person out of the meeting, or else they can stay, they can come back in. Make sure you're the last person out. All right, ladies, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
So I think some people were asking about the 2 Instagram feeds that I follow for the games, and I'll just go a little slower. One was Stop, Collaborate, Teach. So if you just search that in Instagram, Stop, Collaborate, Teach. The other one was Sparkles and Pom-Poms. Sparkles and Pom-Poms. She has tons of games too. And both of those are really great to follow because they give you a live description of how to play them. It's not just here's a link, figure it out. So I really appreciate it because they come up in my feed and I can just watch them, whenever I'm searching Instagram, they come up and it's easy to see. So that was one of them. And then Meg, there was a question for you about your background, I think.
Laura, she's green screen.
This actually, I can't even take credit for this one because this is built into the software that we're using to do this webinar. But you can basically just go online and find, like, a lot of news articles online have kind of gathered together really cool, nerdy backgrounds. And I know, like, I don't know about everybody else, but I use Canva a lot. And Canva even has a template in there for you to create your own background if you want to. So you could do something, with your branding on it or whatever. Same thing for Google Classroom. Like, you could have maybe a banner as beautiful as Ashley's. I don't know if that's possible, but you could try.
I don't know.
Let's aspire higher.
And that's a hard one.
I actually saw a great background somebody did, like, themselves. They took a picture of themselves at their computer and then they like went away and they just kept it on there. So the meeting was just them sitting there. And I was like, that's genius. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of Bitmoji ones. People do the backgrounds on their Google Classrooms where they create the header bar with their Bitmojis. I'm a Bitmoji fan, so I think it's pretty cool when they get to do that. I have a couple of them that I want to try, but I haven't had the time to make the animated one. So
yeah.
I know, fancy.
All right. Anything else you guys want to add? No. Then the last thing I'll say is, please read. I send one email a week. That's it. Just on Tuesdays. Please read it. Really, it's compiled like all the frequently asked questions that we're receiving. So typically, if it's something you're asking, it's probably something we've addressed at some point already, and we don't expect you to know all that off the top of your head. But it is very difficult. There's a lot of you, and there's not a lot of us. And we're actively trying to be as on the ball as we possibly can. But a lot of us, I'm not sure if you've all been to that link, but if you go to my most recent EdTech Tuesday, which was sent last night, the very first link, it's kind of like our home learning hub. Meg has been creating a ton of resources. So have Ashley and Christina. All of them are doing open office hours and hangout hours. And that's the easiest place for us to help you during those times, because if you pop in and ask questions, we can have you share your screen, we can share our screen, and we can kind of work together. It's very difficult to get 25 emails in 20 minutes of all the same question and have to type out the answers for them. So that is a really quick way to get help. That it seems like we have a really small but mighty crew that's been getting help that way, but we want all of you to join us so we can connect with you and make sure we're answering your questions too. Thank you guys all for being here. Everybody watching, my amazing panel, Meg, Christina, Ashley, thanks for being here. And then I guess we have to decide what we're going to do next week.
Yeah.
It was great to see you. Stay safe.